Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Fall in Love with a Princess Diva in Backrooms Part 3. Chapter 7, Back at Remnant, Beacon Academy, Vale, 9:30 am. The Beacon Academy, a prestigious academy meant for training the next generation of huntsmen. Once it was an academy of honor, now it was filled with racism, bullying and many other nasty things imaginable. The headmaster of the Beacon Academy was a middle-aged man with silver hair. He has a light complexion and sharp facial features. Interestingly, he has black eyebrows, suggesting that he may have had black hair when he was younger. He had a sorrowful expression on his face, disappointed at the students for their treatment of Jaune. Sorry Jaune, he was only helpless, given that he could only watch Jaune get beaten up through the security cameras. Thankfully all professors were able to protect him for as long as he could. He was happy with Ruby Rose for standing up against her sister and protecting Jaune, as well as Team CFVY for protecting and taking care of him when he was kicked out from his dorms and left to fend for himself, especially after he was disowned. His name was Ospen. A week after Jaune and Ruby's disappearance, Ospen immediately went to search for Jaune after being informed in secret that he had disappeared so as to not alert the other students. There was no outcome, while the others did not care less about his disappearance. One morning, Ospen decided to now do something. He thought that maybe, just maybe, they will realize that they noticed that Jaune and Ruby are missing, but no avail, nothing has changed. Ospen sighs and looks outside his window, seeing the fact that teams WBY and JNPR, now led by Jaune's twin sister Jean, had disappointed him beyond belief. He wanted to make Pura the Spring Maiden, but she does not deserve this, not after what she has done to her own partner Jaune. Ospen. Oh, how you disappoint me, Ms. Nikos, betraying your partner for what mere papers. I don't know what to do with you. Ospen had also gotten the news of Jaune's very own parents disowning the boy. What made it worse is the look of hopelessness and emptiness he saw in him when he last saw his face, after which he and Ruby both ran away from their dorms and then disappeared. It has been 1 week since they last saw them. That was when another lady came in. The lady seemed to be a middle-aged lady with blonde hair that has very light blonde hair tied back in a bun with a curl hanging down the right side of her face. Her eyes are bright green, and she wears thin ovular glasses. She had dangling teal earrings that matched the hanging pendant on her collar. She wore a white long-sleeved pleated top that had a wide keyhole neckline and gauntlet cuffs that flare in pleats at the wrist. Her lower body was covered by a black high-waisted pencil skirt with bronze buttons and black fading into brown stockings. This was Ms. Glinda Goodwich, one of the professors working as a teacher at Beacon. Ospen then spoke to her with a sigh. Ospen. Any trace of Mr. Jaune and Ms. Rose? Glinda looked down, trying to control her tears. Jaune was like the son she never had. She knew why he ran away. She tried to protect him, even trying to give him her room to stay when he was kicked out of his dorm, and when Team CFVY was not having the room free. She hated many of the students for hurting Jaune, especially Yang and Nora for tormenting him and Pura and Cardin for exposing his transcripts. She then responded, Glinda. And no, nothing, headmaster. She spoke in a whatever voice she could muster. Ospen knew what was going through Glinda right now. He tried to help her in whatever he can. He rarely felt this angry in his life, but now he wanted to just straight up kick out Team CRDL and Pura for exposing and ruining Jaune's life, but he could not for 2 reasons. One being that Cardin's father was on the council, and he might use his position against Ospen and blackmail him. Preventing his expulsion and kicking out Pura might result in something far worse than he could be kicked out, leaving Beacon and possibly Vale to an assault from Salem, which is something he wanted to avoid at all costs. He cannot let history repeat itself. Ospen. Don't push yourself, Glinda, we will find him. I know we will find them. Glinda did not know what to do. Ever since Ruby started to support to Jaune and stopped being with Yang, her very own team, along with NPR, turned against her. They started to be hostile to Ruby as well, with Yang and Ruby constantly bickering, and Yang hating Ruby for supporting Jaune despite his false transcripts. Ospen then spoke. Ospen. None of this would have happened if I just made those damn papers authentic. I knew of Jaune's transcripts being fake. I could have easily validated it. None of this would have ever happened. Ospen slammed the table. Glinda was shocked to see the calm Professor Ospen in such an angered state. Ospen, on seeing this, immediately composed himself. Ospen. My apologies, Glinda. I don't usually get angry like this, so what exactly happened to the search? Glinda. Eyewitnesses show that both Jaune and Ruby were heading towards the Emerald Forest, where they were last seen. After that there was no account witness. This all happened 1 week ago around midnight. Ospen sighed. He knew that this was all they came to know of. They then fell off out of existence, or that's what Ospen was told, and were never seen again. It is like they vanished out of thin air. He knew that Salem was not responsible for this, since these were not the Grimm she controlled, so he had to be careful. He must not tip the search to anyone aside from himself and Glinda. He was thinking of bringing Ironwood into the search, as he probably understood that Atlas technology might be the best way to track them down. Ospen. We have no choice, we might have to bring James into this. Linda looked at Osmond like as if he has gone insane. Bringing ironwood into this might make matters worse. Knowing how prideful they are, they might end up making more damage than amends for already the bad things that have happened. Linda. But ironwood would already put him under danger if we bring him into the picture. Who knows what Atlas might do, they might use Jaune for their own benefit. I never trusted Atlas, even if I had some faith in James. He is nothing but a slave to the council. There is no telling that what they would do with Jaune. Please Osmond, is there no other way? Linda was hyperventilating. She was wondering where Jaune is, what he is doing, whether he is keeping well. She was worried like a mother was worried about her child. She already knew what Atlas has become. Even though there are some kind people back there, it is still hard to trust them, especially the council. Osmond. I know Glinda, trust me, it is just a thought, but if anything we need their technology. I will try my best in case we need James and Atlas technology to help us. This is but a last resort, Glinda. I will not contact James right now, only if we have no option left. Sounds good. Linda calmed down a bit. She knew that Osmond is right. Atlas technology is quite advanced, at least compared to Vale it is. She would need all the help she can get. If she would get Jaune back safe and sound, she is certainly gonna give that boy the scolding off his life. Osmond. Besides, Osmond looks out of his window to see CRDL get along with JNPR and WBY. We should at the very least expose Mr. Winchester for what happened in the Forever Falls. It is the least we could do. Honestly, I should just boot him out, but it is better if he went through the same thing Jaune did. I will make sure he gets punished for his actions. Linda noticed the seriousness in his voice. He is done tolerating their actions. It was now he deals with them for good. It is the least he could do to help Jaune for the time being. Linda. I will prepare the amphitheater. Shall I call all the students? Osmond. Indeed, Glinda, it is about time we expose the truth. Mr. Winchester will pay for what he did back a week ago. This should at least make him and his team suffer the consequences for their actions. Linda noticed that Osmond is going to give them the trashing of his life. He has had enough. The only reason she is not punishing Cardin herself, because one, she is a teacher, and two, his father has a seat on the Vale Council. She did not want to risk the academy's safety, else she would have tormented the boy for ruining Jaune's life. Linda. Very well, Headmaster, I will prepare them soon. Osmond nodded. Well, Glinda took her leave. He is going to expose Cardin and ruin his reputation for good. Meanwhile, Glinda broke down in tears once she was outside. She was extremely emotionally vulnerable. Ever since Jaune and Ruby left, the only people she truly cared for, thankfully nobody saw her in this pitiful state. Glinda. Jaune, why did you have to leave me like this? What will I do without you? Scene break. In the Backrooms. Level 4, 7:30 p.m. Issei, Jaune, Ruby and Rex had finally reached what seemed to be an empty office, without any furniture or any of the mechanical items that are present commonly in an office. Issei knew from Drake that this level had a lot of almond water present, so this is the place where they can get their almond water, since the levels after this are extremely dangerous, especially levels like 8 and 9. Jaune. Is it just me, or are there an awful lot of wanderers present in this level, even more than the regular ones? Like we barely encountered any wanderers present in level 2 or 3, and here we have a lot of them. Drake responded from the boosted gear. Drake. That's because this level is known for gathering supplies that may be needed later on, like the levels after this only get worse, especially levels like 7, 8 and 9, so this level is used to gather as many supplies as we can. Hence this level is quite popular for wanderers to come here and get prepared, just like level 1. Rex. Nice, a lot of people to meet and be friends with. Ruby. Indeed, these levels are pretty nice to get around. The aggressive previous 2 levels were pretty dark, and don't even get me started on level fun. This is quite a nice change of pace. Issei on the other hand was looking out for something. He only had like 5 bottles of almond water. Thankfully he had a ton of empty bottles which he had gotten since level 1 from back in the day. He was looking out for a filter which had almond water. He was thinking about where are these water filters were. Ruby. Is something wrong, Issei? Issei snapped out of his thoughts and responded. Issei. Nothing, just looking for the almond water coolers and fountains. We are kind of running out of them, plus I wanted to ask how much cash you two have. Jaune. Why do you want to know? Issei. There are vending machines out here. I highly doubt your current currency would work. Back home yen is as good as paper out here. The only currency that does work here is backdollars, so yeah, whatever currency you have is as good as useless. Jaune. So you are telling me that liens are as good as nothing here. Issei. I am afraid so, Jaune. Jaune. Honestly, we only have like a 100 backdollars each. What do you think we should do? Issei. Thankfully I have a lot. Keep them safely with you. We might need them later. I like have 1,000 backdollars, so we should keep them safely. Keep them with you. Without it you are as good as penniless. Jaune and Ruby understood. Issei then spoke. Issei. There are vending machines out here that dispense almond water. I will check for more almond water. Let's see if there is anyone present. We need to collect as much almond water as possible. Jaune. Then we will come with you. Ruby. Yeah, we cannot leave you alone, there might be doppelgangers roaming around, we need to be careful. Rex. What she said. Issei sighed, he knew that they will not leave him alone, he eventually accepted the offer, and they all three visited the almond fountain, where Issei pretty much collected as much almond water as possible. He was helped by Ruby and Jaune, as they continued filling water as much as possible. They then decided to check if there are any more important supplies out there, since they are going to need as much as possible. For the later levels, he did not want to run into a class 7 entity, since they are known to be pretty unpredictable, and might kill him and his friends. Jaune. So Issei, how do we get out of here? Issei. I think there should be an exit out of here somewhere, let's ask the people around here. Issei then asks some of the wanderers out here. He encounters a colony named Amor Incrementum, a religious group that worship the agriculture. Despite this, the only plants that they grew here are nothing but mold and fungi that is grown on level 0 and level 1. Issei was not interested in judging them, given that as long as he does not bother others, they should not bother anyone. One of the members responds, Amor. The way to get out there should be an exit around one of the areas inside the office, this should take you to a hotel or a dark place, your choice. Issei. Alright, thanks for the information, we shall take your leave. The Amor Incrementum member nods, he then informs this to the rest of the gang, who understand that they need to find the hotel to rest, since most of them are exhausted after going to level 2, level fun and level 3, which are all above class 2 difficulty. They decided to sit on the floor for a while, till they head into the next level. Issei and the others then look around for the exit. They notice some other outposts and colonies as well, but they ignore them and mind their own business. Some of them still deny that they are in the backrooms, and they could not blame them, since the backrooms is known to be a very dangerous place. Issei and the others then notice a black jar that was on the table, which no one was watching. He then took it to check it out what exactly it is. Greg. Partner, that's Jar Dark. Issei. Okay, so what does this exactly do? Greg. Jar Dark, also known as black juice, black water, or the last resort, is a very rare drink found within the backrooms that can only be obtained by either finding it within dark places or by compounding all liquids present within the backrooms. Don't try this, it's very risky and could lead to your death. Issei gulped when he heard that, while the others panicked when they saw the item. They are certainly not going to try creating it. Dreg then continued. Greg. The jar o' death looks like a regular jar with a metal lock that contains pitch black liquid. The liquid also exudes a certain odor that is very similar to the smell of burning toast, which is the most common adaptation of its smell. Some people claim that it often smells like sewage water, cigarette smoke, and burning wood as well. Ruby then asked, Ruby? So what does it exactly do when consumed by entities? Greg. The current properties of the liquid within the jar o' dark is still unidentifiable at this moment. The effects of the liquid vary towards many things. It can vaporize, neutralize any poison or corrosive substance, and can even grant wanderers the power to cheat death. There are multiple effects of this thing. All entities within the level the consumer is in will be made aware of the drinker's whereabouts and status. All entities within the level will be affected by homicidal rage, includes non-hostile entities. The user can experience positive effects when their life is in imminent mortal danger, spontaneous regeneration, supernatural survivability, death transfer. The user will experience piercing pain, specifically described as 1,000,000 needles piercing your body all over. The average duration time of the effect the drink can give could last to about 10 hours. The longest time ever recorded was 5 days. The shortest one, on the other hand, lasted for 10 minutes. Due to this information, MEG could conclude that the effects depend on the person itself. The others nodded. Issei then kept the liquid inside his bag before anyone except his team could notice and try to take it from them. They still needed to find a way out of here. On the way they encountered a BAS scientist. Scientist. Alright, this should be easy. Now all we need to do is find the different entities in level 6 and it should make the travel much easier. Jaune. He seems to hold a lot of information. We should try talking to him. What do you say, guys? Issei. I will try talking to him. Issei approached the man in a friendly manner. Initially he was not comfortable and was startled by his presence, but Issei only wanted to ask some questions if he is alright. The Backrooms analyst squadron sighs and responds, Scientist. Alright kid, just a few questions, nothing more nothing less. Issei. Sounds good, we want to get out of here, so which level is the best you think should work? Scientist. If I were to suggest level 3999 is the best and the most possible way of getting out of here, it has a guaranteed trip to the front rooms, as long as you complete the given tasks. Worry not, it would be easy. Jaune. How do we get there? Scientist. There are multiple ways. One of them is by heading to the end level and running the trine.exe file, and you should be teleported there. Another way is, one can find an extremely rare, large purple-colored unstable wall at a specific point of level 11. Knock through it to be sent here. Theory suggests that the level can be entered through one point in every single level, including the void, as reports of someone coming here from the void were discovered. Many other levels have extremely hard to pull off exits to level 3999, which range from falling asleep to knocklipping through a weird wall. This has no chance to send you to the void if done properly, or getting eaten by a very specific entity to teleport here. The just a few of them, I could rant for a whole day on how to get there. The scientist takes a breath and speaks. Scientist. Alright, last question, kid. Ruby. What are those entities you mentioned that exist in level 6? Scientist. Honestly, you cannot see anything when you head to that level, but the entities theorized are smilers and its relatives like screamers, laughers and blushers, to name a few, aside from that there are entities like the usual hounds and skin stealers and some more hostile entities. Alright, that's the entities we know of. If you want more information, then ask one of the wanderers, I think they should tell you. Issei. Okay, thank you for your time. The scientist nods and he leaves to look out for his group. Issei and the others then continue to look for an exit to get out of here. They eventually come across the doors on the lower floor. After collecting enough food and almond water for the rest of the levels, it should be enough till they have to level 11 or a safer level like that. They needed to find out where they would go next. Issei and the others then saw a wooden door with a long steel handle. Jaune then checked to see what seemed like a hotel hallway. They realized that this is the exit to get out of this level. Jaune. Guys, this seems to be the exit, let's move on to the next. Issei. Heh, you got it, Jaune. They all then walk through the door to the next level, ready to brace the dangers that may follow soon. Scene break. Chapter 8. Hotel stay and a shield guy. In an undiscovered level, 8:30 p.m. An entity is watching over the backrooms wanderers. He grits his teeth, given that how much he hated wanderers and wanted to kill them in the most brutal way possible. He wanted to inflict as much pain as possible, but then he notices Issei and his group, consisting of Jaune, formerly Jaune Arc, Ruby Rose and the dollface Rex. He notices the gauntlet on Issei's hand and remembers it is from somewhere familiar. That gauntlet, why does it look so familiar? Then looks into the level in which they currently are, level 5, and thinks that he might be a threat to his reign of terror. He must be stopped, but he cannot show up there, at least not yet. Issei Haidu, right, maybe he is the one that can free me from this curse. No. He is just like the other wanderers who are here to ruin my dimension, just like that damn MEG. Grits his teeth. If it was not for the condition kept by the god of the Bible, he would have killed every single wanderer in his dimension. Hence he made class 5 difficulty levels and hostile entities. He is also the creator of many dangerous entities as well. No matter what happens, you will not leave this wretched place. Your team and your friends will be stuck here for all eternity, and I will make sure you watch everything. Enjoy your last few days of peace. Feigns a small smirk, he then speaks. Cause I am here to destroy your peace once and for all. Then stops watching and goes back to check the other hostile levels. He makes a grin as he is not going to let this team go back to their dimension no matter what. He will make sure of it. Scene break. Level 5, 8:30 p.m. Issei and the others are heading to the reception where a fastling with a hotel attire had greeted them. Issei then asked, Issei. How much for a room? The fastling responded and said, Fastling. The rooms are free, the food is the one that needs to be paid for. Oh, and one more thing, some people might be a bit aggressive and there might be a deathmyth or two, so be careful. Issei. Alright, is there something else I need to worry about? Fastling. Yes, the beast of level 5 is the most dangerous entity out here, so stay clear from the upper floors. If you need to exit, head to the boiler room and you will be sent to level 6, although I would highly advise against it. Issei. Alright, thanks for the tip, we will watch out. Issei and Rex take one room, while Jaune and Ruby take another room. Issei then notices that his phone has signal. He then checked that there were a ton of missed calls, as well as messages on his mobile phone. Most of the calls were from Rias and Akeno. He then looked to see that there were many calls from mostly all members of the orc. He wondered why his parents did not call him. He then noticed the number of each of the calls. Rias, 19. Akeno 17. Irina, 15. Asia 14. Diva 13. Ravel 12. Asper 10. Azazel 8. Kaneko 7. Zenobia 5. Mitsuda, 3. Modahama 3. Unknown number 1. Issei wondered what the unknown number is. He then decided to call the unknown number. Little did he know that it would be someone surprising. Issei. Hello? Issei, is that you? Where the hell are you? Do you know how much you have made others worry? Issei recognized this voice as Sona Citri, alias Ona Shitori, the joint ruler of Kuo Town with his master Rias Gremory and the heir of the Citri clan. He wondered why she of all people called him. On the other side, Sona was shocked that Issei called her out of all people. She knew that he better have a good explanation, given that he has been missing for 2 days right now. He then spoke. Issei. President, can you let me talk to others? Bring Azazel-sensei here as well. Sona calmed down for a while and responded. Sona. Alright, I will do it, just give me a moment. Back in the DXD world. Kuo, 9:30 p.m. Sona, on getting his call, immediately teleported herself to Haidu residence. She then called the others. Sona. Rias, everyone come downstairs now, it is important. Rias and the others rushed downstairs, many of them were still saddened by his disappearance, but when Sona called them, they immediately came down. Rias. Sona, what's wrong? Sona. It is Issei. Rias. Sona, that's a very bad joke, tell me the reason you are. Issei. President. Everyone's ears perked up when they heard Issei's voice. Rias and Akeno had tears in their eyes. Given that it has been 2 days since they heard anything from him, several others also broke down on hearing his voice. Issei. President, it's me Issei. I managed to get signal in the dimension I am in. I am currently in a hotel room, so that's the only place where I got a signal to contact you guys. I wanted to first and foremost apologize to talking rudely to most of you all, especially Akeno and Arena. Rias then spoke. Rias. Ice, where are you? Please tell me, are you alright? Issei. Yeah, I am fine, can you tell me where Azazel-sensei is? Sona. Oh, he is coming, I just gave him a call, he should be here in a minute. That was when another teleportation circle opened up, revealing Azazel in a panic state. He was joined by both Kiba and Gasper. He initially thought that Sona was pranking him when she told her that Issei had called her, but realized Sona is not the type of person to pull pranks. Azazel. Issei. Is that you? Issei responded from the phone. Issei. Yeah, it's me sensei, I wanted to tell you where I am, which dimension I was sent to. Azazel. Alright, tell. Issei. I am in the backrooms, Azazel-sensei. Azazel's heart sank. He was familiar with the dreaded place for the backrooms. He wanted Issei to be in a much safer place, but the place where Issei went to was considered the most dreaded place. He wanted the place to be anything but that. He knew that this is the place where many wanderers end up dying, but at the same time, only a small amount of wanderers end up surviving. He then spoke. Azazel. Issei, please tell me you are joking. Issei. I am afraid not, this place is the backrooms. When I reached here, I was in a yellow room with fluorescent lights and a moist carpet. The lights were buzzing endlessly, and there was no one, no food, people or even phone coverage. The only time I got phone coverage was when I reached here. Azazel was even more under stress. This was supposed to be a myth. The backrooms never actually existed, and he knew Issei was not the type to be interested in such stuff, so this could only mean one thing. Everything Issei said was not a lie, but truth. Knowing this, he knew that there is still a way he can get out. Azazel. Issei, which level are you in right now? Issei. I am in level 5, say how do you know about this place sensei? Azazel. You seem to be in a level called the hotel, thankfully it is a class 2 difficulty with a low entity count. Can you tell me which levels you went in? Issei. I was in level 0, level 1, level 2, then I had to take a detour to level fun. Azazel yelled in response, cutting Issei. Azazel. Level fun, do you know how dangerous that level is? Issei. I know sensei, but I needed to save a friend of mine. He was attacked by a partygoer, and we needed to rescue him before it is too late, before he becomes into one of those bastard creatures. Azazel sighs and responds. Azazel. You never change, do you? Issei, always reckless. Issei chuckles nervously. Azazel then continued. Azazel. Which other levels did you go to? Issei. After that was level 3 and level 4, then we came here after gathering supplies from level 4 and came to this level, level 5. Azazel. Alright, I am just happy that none of you are harmed, speaking of which, who are your companions? Issei. Their names are Jaune, formerly Jaune Arc and Ruby Rose, and I have a tame dollface, who I named Rex. Azazel. Even there, this kid is able to bring people together, despite being perverted he still has a heart of gold, which none of us do. Azazel then spoke after snapping from his thoughts. Azazel. Say, are there any other allies you have? Issei. I managed to contact Major Exploration Group (MEG) and they helped me through, and they informed me all the information about the different levels from 0 to 11, as well as all the entities and items present. It turns out that the boosted gear can turn into a USB port as well to accept information. Azazel. Well, this is new, tell me more. The others were in a slightly better position, given that Issei is safe and sound, at the very least for now. They were happy that Issei was alive, there was still hope for him to come out safe and sound. Issei. Well, I found them on level 1, don't worry, I am not working for them, as my goal is to get out of here as soon as possible. The local director gave me a data disk with all the information. I managed to put it in the boosted gear, just like I managed to assimilate Ascalon. After that, Drake managed to receive all the information from level 0 to 11, along with all the entities and objects. After that, there was an entity attack in level 1, we managed to defend it with a few casualties. The next day I went to the local director, and he led me straight to level 2. Greg then responded. Greg. I can confirm, I have received more information thanks to MEG giving me that data disk with all the information. I have become a sort of navigator, honestly this is much better than being in that show. Azazel sighs, he knew how much he hated being in that Op-Eye Dragon show. If anything, this is a better thing at the very least for him. Azazel then spoke. Azazel. I am just happy that the two of you are alright, and this is quite an interesting development. I never thought that Drake would be able to get more information, just like a computer gets when a data disk or USB gets inserted to him. I would love to know more about this Issei, once you manage to get back after. All the levels after this are considered to be nightmare fuel, at the very least till level 9. Rias and the others looked at him in surprise and shock. Rias. What do you mean Azazel-sensei? Arena. Please tell me that Issei will be alright. Azazel. The levels after level 5 to level 9 are considered to be a minimum class 4 difficulty, with level 6 and 8 taking the cake. Level 6 is known to be quite unpredictable, given that it is complete and utter darkness, not even devil's vision may work. Then level 7 is thalassophobia, which means fear of water bodies. Level 8 is an infinite cave system filled to the brim with entities. And finally level 9 is a darkened suburb, which is known to be breaking the laws of physics, but I guess you know about this Issei. The others dreaded those levels. The journey for Issei is only going to get intense from now on, Rias then said. Rias. Ice, please be safe, none of us can live without you. Issei. I know Rias, I know, now I gotta go, the others are calling for me. Issei disconnects the phone, he knows that this is not the last time he would be calling them. Rias then had tears in her eyes. Rias. He called me by my name, I don't know what to say. Bakeno calmed her down, she then said. Bakeno. It's alright Rias, he loves you more than anyone else, more than anything else, he will come back for you, no matter what he will come back for us, we know he is alive and well, and that's what we wanted. Asia. Bakeno is right, he will come back for us, he always does. The others also agreed, giving each other words of encouragement. They knew that Issei does not hold any ill will towards them. Azazel then said. Azazel. I will tell the others about this, they deserve to know what happened, the leaders should be informed about this, for now we can only have faith in him. Grigori, 10 p.m. Azazel then leaves, teleporting back to Grigori. While he was preparing for a meeting, he senses a familiar presence. Azazel. So you came to know about his disappearance, Vali. Vali. Albion sensed Haidu's disappearance, care to tell where is he? Albion. Drake as well has been vanished, I need a good explanation for this. Azazel. If I tell you too, would you believe me, cause the place where he is at as well something of a fiction. Vali was confused. Vali. Where is he? Azazel. In a place called the Backrooms, I think you do not know about this, do you? Vali. Fine, tell me. Azazel speaks about the Backrooms, to say that Vali was shocked would be an understatement, he wanted to fight him, but now there would be a very little chance that they would even come out alive, Vali then said in a depressed voice. Vali. So my life, all my training went for nothing, my life is a waste. Albion. My rival is not coming back. Both Vali and Albion went into a depression. Azazel could only smile, as he knew that even though Vali wanted to fight Issei to the battle till the death, he still had a little care for him, although he would never admit it. Azazel. I know that boy, he has come back from worse situations before, he will be alright and will come back just fine, he always won in situations where he could have been easily killed, he will come back, and who knows, he will be strong enough for the two of you to fight. Vali ears perked up, he knew that Issei would come out of there no matter what, he was able to push Vali, despite not unlocking balance breaker properly, nearly forcing him to use Juggernaut drive. Vali. Alright, I hope he comes back. Vali then leaves, knowing that if others were to know of his presence they might come and attack him. He knew that the Issei that will come back will be much stronger than before. Azazel sighs and goes back to prepare his meeting, he knows that this will be a long day. Scene break. In the Backrooms, level 5, 10:15 p.m. Issei leaves the room along with Rex after talking to Azazel. He walks out knowing that the others know he is safe and sound. He is determined to come back safely at the very least, so that the people back there seem happy. Jaune. You seem kind of happy, Issei. Issei. Oh hey Jaune, I was talking to the folks back home, they know that I am alive and well, I gotta get back, they are waiting for me. Ruby. Can you tell me who are they? Issei. Oh I will tell you, let's go and have a dinner before we go to sleep, I have not had proper food since I came from level 1, and a diet of only almond water is nutritious sure, but it gets boring after a while. Jaune. As for us, we have not had food since we came here, and yes, being on a diet of almond water did not do us any good. They head to the room where food was being served, the food looked quite good, several facelings and volunteers that were present were serving the food, Issei and the others brought the food each for $50. It was not much, and Issei paid for the food, despite the others trying to state that they would pay. Issei insisted that he should be the one to pay. The food looked quite tasty for the others as well. It consisted bacon with fried rice and some salad on the other side. This was the closest to real food they could get. They immediately dug in, and even Rex managed to enjoy the food. It was a long time before they had real food. After a while of consuming their food, they seemed to be stuffed. They enjoyed the meal since it has been a day, 2 days for Jaune and Ruby. Since they have had a proper meal, they then discuss on getting out of here. Jaune. So Issei, what do you think, when should we get out of here? Issei. Let's rest for a while, these hotel rooms seem to be quite for nice, and since living rooms are not present, this gives us a slight advantage. Ruby. Living rooms. Issei. I will let Dreg explain that. Dreg. The living room, codenamed Entity 46, the living room, is a standardized room with various furniture from what looks to be the 1980s. There is always 3 consistencies in each instance, being a ringing landline phone, a bed, and a vault door. All of the furniture within the living room is of unknown origin with no recognizable brands being used. On occasions, there will be a television sitting on top of the fireplace, which will always be turned on despite having no aviable power source. A mirror can be seen in the room, which will disorientate the wanderer's reflections and has the possibility to give that wanderer a seizure. Jaune. So why is it dangerous? Dreg. The living room will always attempt to lure people into it via a ringing phone. Upon picking up the phone, fake emergency services will pick up and tell the person to remain calm, stay put, and lock any entrances into the room until they arrive. If said wanderer follows the instructions given by the mysterious individual, the door's lock will break and will be deemed unusable until he or she has been killed. At this point, anyone locked inside the room should be considered lost or dead. It should be noted that the room will still attack any non-human entities, which include animals, other entities, insects, etc. After around 2 to 3 hours have passed, or everyone in the room has fallen asleep on furniture within the room, the entity will begin to shift as certain pieces of furniture begin to disappear and reanimate in the form of spikes protruding out of the walls, roof, and floor. These spikes will pierce the victim's body, killing them either from immense blood loss or puncturing a major organ. It is unknown what happens to the bodies when they are killed, as none have been recovered in the aftermath. If any furniture or the room itself is damaged, the living room will immediately become hostile and attack everything inside and out of the entity. The others gulped on hearing this. They knew that any phone with a ringing it is usually not a good sign. They must avoid the living room at all costs. Hey, you guys seem to be having a good conversation, mind if I join in? Issei looked at a man having short black hair that spikes in all directions, sharp green eyes. He seemed to be wearing a green clothing with a barbarian armor, which seemed to be showing him off as the villain. Issei noticed him keeping distance from other members. He knew that he is someone to keep his guard up. Sorry about that, the name is Naofumi Iwatani, the current shield hero from my world. It is nice to meet you. Issei. So Naofumi, what drove you to join our conversation? From what I noticed you barely seemed to talk to people. Issei then goes serious, flinching the shield hero. Issei. And you better tell the truth, I don't trust anyone aside from my group, so you better tell us why you are here or you are gonna regret it. Ruby. Ice, he might not be an enemy. Naofumi cuts her off and responds. Naofumi. I see you have trust issues. I don't blame you for that given the circumstances. I can prove to you that I am not an enemy. We are almost the same. The world where I come from I was hated for holding this shield. Believe me, I want to go home too, because the people back home care for me. Just give me chance. If I betray you guys, do not hesitate to kill me. I understand you 3 may not have trust in me, and truth is even I do not completely believe you guys. Issei. Then why are you intent on listening to our conversation? Naofumi. Because the levels ahead are dangerous, I know of that. I can be of some use to you guys. I have this shield which has massive defenses, as well as several defensive abilities that can help you guys fight against the entities ahead. I wanted to gather more information about the entities ahead. We both need each other if we need to survive, so it is best that we work together. Plus I am a healer. I can heal your wounds and even cure diseases, so it is best we work together. I need some allies that can fight for me while I defend you guys from damage. Sounds good. Issei though about it for a while, he then responded. Issei. Very well Naofumi, you can come with us, since you also have people back home just like me, I will accept the deal. Naofumi. Great, so when are we heading to level 6? Issei. Tomorrow at least, I want to rest since I traversed levels yesterday, so we will wait. Naofumi. Very well, I will head back to my room, it is on the lower floors, so we can meet then. Issei. Alright Naofumi, speaking of which I am Issei. Jaune. The name's Jaune, from Remnant. Ruby. My name is Ruby Rose, I am from Remnant just like Jaune. Rex. Hi, I am Rex, a dollface. Naofumi. It is a pleasure to meet you all. We will meet tomorrow during breakfast, and oh be careful of the beast of level 5. Issei. The beast of level 5. Naofumi. It is on the upper floors, it is responsible for turning several wanderers into wretches, so I would not recommend you to go up there, it is known to be very dangerous. Issei. Alright, we understand. Naofumi takes their leave and heads back to his room. Issei then asks Dreg. Issei. Hey Dreg, what's a wretch? Dreg. Wretch is also known by the term insanities, codenamed Entity 7. Insanities are humans who have been mutated into red-skinned zombie-like creatures by the effects of insanity. Insanities can vary widely in appearance and can be categorized into various types. In general, a type of insanity will be associated with a specific level, such that all humans in the process of turning into an insanity on a given level will turn into the type that is associated with said level. The most common form of insanity is a red-skinned humanoid with a massive smile. Jaune. That's scary, I do not want to become one of those, although I would not mind Cardin becoming one of them. Ruby. Jaune. Alright, I will stop. Breg then continues. Breg. Insanities are almost always hostile, but other than that, their behavior varies wildly. They carry weapons and tools such as firearms, grenades, melee weapons, etc. Moreover, there have been confirmed sightings of insanities wearing night vision goggles, body armor, a helmet face shield and a riot shield. Rarely, you will encounter a group of 5 insanities armed with 2 flamethrowers, 2 assault rifles and a machine gun. This specific sighting has been confirmed by multiple wanderers. Some insanities will form groups, whereas others will remain solitary. Some will actively hunt humans, while others will choose an area to live in and only kill wanderers who enter their area. Other entities in the backrooms tend not to hurt insanities, sometimes even forming packs with them. There are usually 4 stages. The first one is the loss of sanity, the second one is red rashes developing on a body. Almond water can only cure the first 2 stages. The third stage is where they become deformed like how they are usually seen as. Almond water will hurt, if not kill him, albeit those that are lucky regain their sanity, albeit with horrible physical deformities, and the fourth stage is where they become into a full-blown insanity. After that there is no hope for the wanderer after that. Issei. Alright, just keep yourself regularly hydrated with almond water. Ruby. It seems the only way we can survive. The others present were quite nervous as they can turn into a wretched insanity. Given that any one of them could convert into one of those entities, they needed to be careful. Issei. Guys, let's all go to sleep, we need to wake up for tomorrow, given that we might have to leave by tomorrow. Jaune. Understood Issei, I will not die here, no matter what. They all then leave their plates and go back home, where they sleep for the night. They needed to brace themselves for whatever they find next. Scene break. Chapter 9. The Beast of the Hotel. The next day, level 5, 8:30 am. Issei woke up with a sigh. He knew that he might have to leave by today, since the hotel room was big enough. He then looked to the side to see Rex staring right through his soul. Issei had a look of pure shock, and he fell down from the bed screaming in fear. He then looked at the doll face with a shocked look. Issei. Rex, what the hell? Rex. You were asleep, you look so amazing while you are sleeping, master. Issei. That's so fucking creepy. Rex. Anyways, I am here to tell you that Jaune and Ruby are waiting for you outside. It is almost breakfast time. Issei. Yeah, tell them I will be taking a shower and be out in a while. Rex. Okay. Issei comes out after taking a shower and gets dressed wearing another pair of track pants and a regular sweatshirt. He then notices both Jaune and Ruby wearing their casuals, since they were in a hotel right now. So far they have not encountered any entities as of yet, but if Nafumi was correct, then there is a supposed beast of level 5 present here. And Issei had this gut feeling that he would encounter it. He knew that he was definitely stronger than an average human, but he could not let his guard down, and he might end up fighting it. Drake decided to telepathically warn his host. Greg. I know what you are thinking, partner, I would not suggest to fight against him. Issei. Why is that? Greg. It is known to drain your sanity before attacking you and consuming you. It is a tactful entity that knows how to camouflage itself under the radar and strike you when you have lost your sanity, so you need to be careful when you are facing it. It is also known to be extremely fast and agile, being so be careful in case you end up facing against it. Issei. Oh okay. Issei snaps out of his mindscape. He then walks through the hallway to catch up with Jaune and Ruby. Rex was alongside him, and they both were heading to the table where they were having their breakfast. The hallway was not that big, and they reached the end of it in no time. Issei then reached an area where the breakfast was being served. He was wondering where the others were. That was when he heard something. Ruby. Issei, over here. Issei immediately headed to the place where Ruby had called him. He then took his food. When he noticed that Jaune was already stuffing himself, he looked with a sigh and went to sit and start eating his own food. It was single fried egg with some meat, along with potato salad, bacon and some noodles. Issei had also taken a glass of orange juice to consume. He was going to enjoy this as much as he could. He then took a while to have his own food. He immediately dug in the food and enjoyed it to its fullest. Issei. So Ruby, what did you have? Ruby. Pancakes, lots and lots of pancakes, with a butt ton of maple syrup. Issei. Jaune. She has a sugar tooth. Issei. Alright. Issei goes into his thoughts. Issei. She would get along with Kaneko completely. Greg. Or have a catfight against her, no pun intended. Issei snaps out of his thoughts. Issei. What about you, Jaune? Jaune. Nothing much, just same what you had but at a lesser quantity. Issei. Oh alright, speaking of which, did you have a run-in with a Deathmouth or a Deathwisp? Jaune. No, not really. Why? Issei. Drake informed me that this level has a lot of them, plus the 1920s machinery, along with face-like wallpaper is known to drain sanity, at least for certain wanderers. Jaune. Alright. They have some silence for a while. Issei begins to play on his phone for a while. Jaune then asks. Jaune. Issei, what is that? Issei. Oh this is what is called a smartphone. It allows us to click photos, make calls, chat with others, play games and many more things. Jaune. We also have something similar to this smartphone. Issei. Do show. Jaune and Ruby bring out a collapsible holographic tablet. They then open the folds of the tablet, revealing to be something similar to that of a foldable phone. Jaune. This is what is called a scroll. It works similar to a smartphone from your Earth, but it is much foldable, allowing me and Ruby to carry it without any problem. Ruby. In addition to that, it also can see through metal as well, allowing us to see hidden entities and play advanced games on the mobile, although it cannot have long-distance communication and can be blocked by someone with some disabling skills. Issei. This seems to be really advanced compared to my smartphone. They would go crazy on seeing this. Jaune. Who is it you guys are talking about? Issei. Back in my world there are two people into techs, their names are Azazel and the current Satan Ajuka Beelzebub. They would love to look at the scrolls and see what it is capable of, and who knows, maybe even enhance them. Greg. Knowing Azazel, he would have a field day if he ever came to know of Remnant. Issei. True. Issei then informed who the two present who Ajuka Beelzebub and Azazel were. They were known to be well-known nerds. One of them was a super devil who was known to be quite intelligent. He was way stronger than him, while Azazel was the Governor General of Grigori and the strongest fallen angel. He was a collector rather than a warrior and was responsible for creating multiple artificial sacred gears and was responsible for training many Longinus users. Jaune and Ruby were surprised. Ruby, on the other hand, desperately wanted to meet Azazel. Since sacred gears may seem similar to that of a weapon, she wanted to see those sacred gears as soon as possible. Ruby. Issei, when can I meet him? Jaune. Ruby, calm down. Issei. Once we get out of here, we can meet him, that is if you guys choose to come to my world instead of Remnant. Jaune and Ruby thought for a while. Well, Jaune wanted to leave Remnant for good and start a new life, and maybe one day go back when things are much better back in Beacon, or if Ruby wished to. Ruby was still skeptical. She still had her father who still loved and cared for her, while her sister still partially cared for her, or at the very least she thought. Ruby looked down. She was not sure on leaving Remnant, sure she would go with Jaune, but she could not just abandon her father Tiang Xiaolong and several of the professors. She wanted some time to think. Issei. I should not have brought that. Ruby. No, it's alright, I should have known that this would come one day, I need some time to think about it. Jaune. Me too. Ruby. Jaune. Well, I would love to leave Remnant for good because of them. I will never abandon you, Craterface. I go back to Remnant if you so desire to. Ruby. Jaune. Ruby immediately jumped on Jaune, hugging him. Issei was happy that they have each other. That was when Nafumi joined in. Nafumi. Yo Issei, did I miss anything? Issei looked at the shield hero in surprise. Ruby and Jaune split up while they both were a blushing mess. Issei. No, nothing much. Nafumi. So what were you guys talking about? Issei. Well, you are in for a long story. Jaune, do you wish to tell me about it? Jaune. No, I will tell. Jaune then tells everything that had happened to him so far, from him being refused to train due to them viewing Jaune as having no potential and only seeing him as a house husband, to his running away from his house. He eventually enrolled into Beacon using fake transcripts with him successfully passing the initiation. Everything was going well for him, he had friends that would have accepted him, but then he made one small mistake that made his life upside down. He told his fake transcripts to his partner named Paralyze, which caused her to rebuke and humiliate him, adding insult to injury. Cardin Winchester, a bully from Beacon, pretty much used this as a way to make him do work. When he saved him from an Ursa, one of the Grim, Cardin did not take it too well and ratted his transcripts. His life was made a living hell, with everyone minus Ruby. The teachers, the headmaster of Beacon Osbin and Team CFVY, they are the only ones that cared for him. Even his parents disowned him after hearing about this. He eventually ran away along with Ruby and made a jump, resulting in them entering the Backrooms. Nafumi was livid on hearing this. It seemed that his past was similar to how he was treated back in Melramerk, thanks to a certain BTCH and a Trash King. Thankfully they have been arrested and punished severely, and they have lost all their titles and are now nothing but mere servants. He then spoke. Nafumi. I should not have asked, it just brought back bad memories. I know how you feel. Jaune. What do you mean, Nafumi? Nafumi. You see, the world where I come from, even though I was seen as the shield hero, people still feared and hated me. This was intensified when the princess of that world framed me for raping her and attacking her, and that's not all. Everyone turned against me, except for a few people. The king of that kingdom went out of his way along with the princess to ruin and bring me to despair. However, I did not give up. Eventually they were caught and exposed to the whole kingdom. They were slated to be executed. However, a better slated punishment would be that they would be stripped off from their titles and become nothing but mere servants. So that's my story, before I eventually tripped and fell into this new world. Issei. I see, at least that girl got what was coming for her. Anyways, do you have anyone waiting for you back home? Naofumi. Yes, I do. Their names are Reptalia, a Tanuki demi-human, and Philo, a philolial, basically a big bird that can fly. Issei. Oh yeah, I heard of demi-humans. They are usually humans with either parts as well as abilities of animals, right? Ruby. We also have something similar in our world, that being faunas. One of my teammates was a faunas. She went by the name Blake Belladonna. Ruby looks at Jaune flinching. She then says, Ruby. Sorry, Jaune. Jaune. No, it's alright. I really need to get over them. Their betrayal still hurts even now. Issei. It's alright, I and Ruby will be there for you no matter what. Ruby. Issei is right, I will be there for you, even if I have to turn on my half-sister for that. Jaune. Thanks guys. Naofumi. Hey, was the one that betrayed you a redhead? Jaune gasps and responds. Jaune. How did you know? Naofumi. The princess that betrayed me was a redhead as well. Looks like we are on the same book, my friend. Issei. Huh, that makes me wonder why Rias has not betrayed me yet. Not like I am asking her to do it, it's just that I feel like an alternate has betrayed me. Meanwhile in Reset. Going back to the past with Change's universe. Issei sneezes as somebody remembers him. Raynare. Is something wrong, Ice? Issei. No, I feel like somebody is talking about me. Tara. I think it must be Sona, she still misses you given that she is in college. Issei. Right, let's get back. Geister is teaching us something new. He gets really angry if we get late to his class. Tara. Right, don't even get me started on what he did to those two. They all then go to attend Geister's class. Thankfully they are on time, so no punishment from the scientist turned teacher. Meanwhile in our universe. Jaune. Issei, what are you talking about? Issei. Nothing much, we should be leaving by today afternoon, provided there is not a problem. Naofumi. True, I will go back to my room and get my stuff packing. I have enough money and almond water, so I should be alright. Issei. Heh, makes it much easier. We will meet up in the courtyard by 3:30. We should have enough time to pack up and leave. Naofumi. So where do you think is the exit for this place? Issei. In the boiler room. Once we wander far enough, we should be teleported to level 6. Now this is where the danger begins, at the very least till level 9, so we need to be as much prepared as possible. All three. Right. They all then go back to their respective rooms. Issei and Rex go back to their own room, while Jaune and Ruby along with Naofumi go back to their respective rooms. Issei is seen packing the necessary amount of almond water that he had found on level 4 and a surprising 8 pieces of royal rations he found in case he and his group run out of food. Issei. It is great we found those things before any of the other wanderers could. Greg. Indeed, I have to agree with you on that, partner. These things are extremely rare to find, although I would suggest to keep these within your group since there are known to be riots among wanderers for this thing, since it is known to be quite addictive. Issei. You got that right, Greg. That was when Jaune came to the door and knocked on it. He immediately kept the food inside and went to answer the door. Issei opened it to see that Jaune was panicking. He had some sort of jelly-like substance on him and he was in distress. Jaune. Ruby saved. Before he could continue, Issei stopped him given his exhaustion. He calmed him down and told him to stay put. He then noticed the attacker to be a huge deathmyth assisted by several death wasps. Issei, on seeing them attacking his friend, immediately got angry and went into his balance breaker mode. Welsh Dragon Balance Breaker. Issei was in the same red armor that had slain multiple entities before. Some death wasps fled due to their instincts, telling them to run away. Issei then used Flame Blaze, easily killing the death moth, as well as any of the surrounding death wasps, taking them down easily. The deathmyth sizzled in pain as its body was easily burnt with ease. It was unable to spit acid on them, since Issei destroyed it before it could do anything. It eventually died due to the pain. Issei then helped Jaune up and asked what happened. Issei. Jaune, what happened to Ruby? Jaune. We were attacked by a bunch of deathmyths and death wasps. I and Ruby ended up getting separated. She went upstairs while I came here to help. Issei. Shit, we need to head up before it is too late. There are wretches up there, and the infamous beast of level 5 as well. Jaune. Alright, let's go. Issei and Jaune head upstairs. On the way they encounter Naofumi. Issei explains what happened and even he joined the gang upstairs. Despite warning from the Fastling staff, they still went upstairs. They then encounter something that would terrify them for all their lives. Issei. Holy mother of Lucifer, what the fuck is that? Greg. That my partner is an insanity or wretch. Jaune. That thing is a wretch, oh this is just too much even for me. The wretch immediately yelled at the gang and attacked him. Naofumi immediately used his shield to protect the others. He then yelled, "Naofumi. Issei now." Issei. Understood. Blade. Issei summoned Ascalon and immediately pierced the wretch's head, killing it instantly. Issei then spoke. Issei. Rest, you deserve this after what you have been through. Jaune. Let's go and save Ruby before it is too late. Issei. Right. With Ruby was in a complete turmoil. She had been hearing whispers, and she also noticed that someone had been stalking her. She did not know what to do. She got split up from her group, and now she has been hearing voices. She thankfully did not encounter any entities, however this seemed intentional. Ruby. Oh god, these whispers are getting too much, even for me. Issei, Jaune, Naofumi, where the hell are you guys? I need you. Ruby then sees two eyes peering into her very soul. She flinches out of fear. She was thankfully trying her very best to keep her mentally sane. She had only a few bottles of almond water left. She needed to be careful. That was when she saw something that would terrify her for her life and scar her completely. The entity was wearing a formal suit with a tie hat. He had a head of a cephalopod and was known to be very hostile. Ruby was under pure fear, given that she is completely alone and has never seen something like this. Even the front is back and remnant do not look like what this thing is right now. The entity immediately opened its wide mouth in an attempt to kill Ruby and devour her. Ruby kept scuttling back in pure fear as she was unable to use her weapon as fear had completely overtaken her body. She then screamed, "Ruby. No, stay away from me." Ruby kept running away as the entity kept drawing close to Ruby. It enjoyed playing with its prey. Given how sadistic it is known to be, it kept on drawing close to that thing until airstrike shield. A shield was formed between the entity and Ruby, making it growl as it was prevented from attacking its prey. It tried to retreat, however. It was prevented by a dragon shot from Issei as it tried to escape and go back into the shadow. Issei. Jaune, get Ruby to safety. Leave this thing to us. Jaune. Understood. Jaune carries Ruby off bridal style and he takes her to a safe area. Ruby, who was clearly traumatized, clung to Jaune for moral support and Jaune calmed her down. Issei and Naofumi took to dealing with the beast once and for all. Issei. Naofumi, you ready for this? Naofumi. You bet, let's take this guy down once and for all. The beast went after Issei, given that he could easily sense its killer intent, but any attack it did, Naofumi would easily block it easily. The beast was not as powerful once you get out of his sanity-draining attacks. Issei knew that base form would struggle against this thing. Illegal move Triana. Issei went into his knight form and yelled, "Issei. Armor release." Change star Sonic. Issei's armor went into his aerodynamic state. The beast was unable to keep up with Issei's attacks. Given that it had never seen anything like a wanderer like this before, he had faced MEG before, but even they were not this fast, at the very least compared to Issei. Issei then yelled, "Issei. Welsh Draconic Rook." Change solid impact. Issei's armor changed into a much stronger and tanker version, allowing him to smash through the beast's skull with relative ease. The beast tried to attack, but Naofumi used another airstrike shield to break the beast, splitting him and Issei up. This allowed the beast to go into stealth mode. Greg. Partner, keep an eye. Any moving eye would show the location of the beast. Issei noticed the eyes moving towards the duo of Ruby and Jaune. Issei then called out, "Issei. Jaune, behind you." The beast attacked Jaune, however Jaune was not having any of it. He easily sliced through one of the tentacles of the beast and gave a kick sending it flying to Naofumi and Issei. He was easily able to kick thanks to him using his semblance aura amp. "Jaune. You will not harm my only friend, you beast." The beast was sent hurtling back to Naofumi and Issei. They knew that they needed to kill the beast at all costs, since it would only cause more problems. Issei and Naofumi looked at each other and knew it was now or never. Issei. Naofumi, let's take this beast down once and for all. Naofumi. You need not tell me twice. Naofumi immediately goes into his wrath shield form. He knew this was a risky moment, but he would do anything to save his friends. He then shield prison imprisoning the beast inside for the green change shield. Naofumi then began the chant for the Iron Maiden ability, the same one that was responsible for killing one of the Soul Eaters. Iron Maiden. The iron torture device belonging to the medieval era had shown up. It had a woman's face on it. The ball then suddenly started to levitate towards the device. The device then opened up, revealing several spikes on it as it started to close on the beast. Naofumi then closed his fist, thus closing the device, dealing massive damage to the beast. However, this was still not enough to kill the beast down. Once the Iron Maiden was dispelled, it revealed the beast to be still alive. But it had wounds everywhere. His suit was torn apart. The face showed numerous signs of internal and external bleeding. It seemed to be as good as dead. Issei then decided to finish this off with his own ability. Issei. Welsh Blaster Bishop. Change Fang Blaster. Two blasters came on top of Issei as they started to charge and finally fire a reddish-green beam onto the beast, destroying whatever remained of it, killing it instantly. When the dust settled, there seemed to be no trace of the beast anywhere. The damage from the Iron Maiden, coupled with the Welsh Blaster Bishop, along with the earlier attacks, killed it instantly. Issei dispelled his armor, and Nafumi transformed his Wrath shield and made it into his regular shield. They then headed to Ruby, who was barely keeping it. Issei immediately brought out his bottle of almond water. The boosted gear announced, "Boost, boost, boost. Transfer." Issei transferred the power to the bottle of almond water and he asked Jaune to feed it. He immediately consumed some of it and made her drink it mouth to mouth. Ruby's sanity returned to normal. She then looked up to see Jaune kissing her. She then smacked him, causing him to split up. Ruby was blushing and she was slightly angry that Jaune kind of took her first kiss. Jaune then asked, "Jaune, are you alright?" Ruby, "I am fine, although you took my first kiss, Jaune." Ruby started to pout, while Jaune just pats her head. He is just happy that she is alive. The beast pushed her sanity too far. Ruby then asked, "Ruby? Sorry about splitting up, Issei." "Issei? It's alright. I was not expecting you two to get assaulted by death wasps and deathmys. Speaking of which, we will leave tomorrow morning, since the attack. Is it alright with you all?" Everyone else agreed given the battle with the amount of wretches, and that beast of level 5 was responsible for their exhaustion. They immediately had their dinner and they went back to sleep. The next day, level 5, 9:30 am. Issei. "Alright, this is the boiler rooms. It should lead us to the next level. We need to be careful here as well. The living statues are present throughout these rooms. In case you see one of them, do not remove eye contact. Keep it till you are out of their sight, else you will get mutilated and be killed instantly. Besides, I have already returned the keys back to the Fassling." He seemed to be thankful for that. "So we need not worry about it." The others nod and they enter the boiler rooms. Thankfully the statue count was surprisingly low and they did not encounter a single one. Even the other entities present in level 5 were quite minimum as they were easily killed by the gang. They eventually move far enough to see that everything has started to go dark. They then realize that they are in the next level, which was completely dark, such that no one could see. Scene break. Chapter 10. Lights out. Back in Remnant, Beacon Academy, Vale, 10:30 am. Osmond was seeing once again that there has been minimum changes in their attitude. He decided to expose Cardin for what he did, despite revealing that it was Jaune who had defended Cardin Winchester from getting killed by the Ursa Major. Only a few people felt regret for what they did, that being Blake, Nora and Ren. Purah was speechless since she had stayed away from Cardin for what kind of a man he is. Well, Team CFVY despised Cardin for what he did, with Velvet and Coco wanting to torment Cardin for his actions. Yang and Weiss on the other hand did not care at all. They were somewhat happy that Jaune is no longer present in this school. Yang never liked him and only tolerated him for Ruby. She began to hate Jaune when Ruby helped Jaune instead of beating him up like the rest of the students. She was under the delusion that fakers like him do not deserve to come to an academy like Beacon and blamed Jaune for turning Ruby against her. Weiss on the other hand was far worse than what Yang was. She was happy that the dolt is long gone from this school. She hated his very presence even before, and now that he is considered a faker, she used to berate and beat him up at every opportunity she used to find. She was becoming just like her father, and it was not a good sign. Weiss did not like Ruby much either, but she used to not talk about her, given that Yang would beat her as well if she ever were to speak about her sister. Osmond had no words. He knew that this generation is pretty messed up, given that if they were to graduate and become huntsmen, they would be the worst generation of huntsmen so far. His focus was to locate both Jaune and Ruby. They had found some leads, but it was leading to nothing. Osmond sighed as he knew that it was only a matter of time before they decide to take Atlas's help. Flashback, 2 days ago. Osmond had called everyone to the amphitheater. The students were surprised as to why they were called to the amphitheater. Osmond then announced, "Osmond. Greetings. Now you all must be wondering as to why I called you guys here. It is about Jaune." On hearing his name, everyone minus Team CFVY, Blake, Nora and Ren, had a scowler and angered look on his face, like they hated him with their very heart. One of the students spoke out. "Student number 1. Why did you call us for that damn faker?" "Osmond has had enough," he yelled. "Osmond." Silence. His tone alone showed that he has had enough of people calling Jaune a faker and humiliating and beating him up for no reason. The students were completely silent since they knew that they did not want to mess with Osmond. "Yang. Why did you call us then, to listen to that faker?" "Osmond. I am getting to it, Ms. Xiaolong, and stop calling him a faker, so can someone tell me the Forever Falls incident?" Purah replied. "Purah. Cardin saved my former partner's life when he was attacked by an Ursa, and he is the reason why Jaune is still alive." "Osmond. That's where you are wrong. The truth is that it was the other way around. It was Jaune that saved Cardin and not Cardin that saved Jaune." The students were unable to believe what had happened. Osmond then showed them the video of the truth, with Jaune valiantly defending Cardin from the Ursa, while Cardin just looked in fear, only being watching everything. Once this was done, Jaune said to stay the hell away from my friends. Cardin only nodded, however some saw that he had a small smile on his face as the video cuts to black. Many students were angry at Cardin for lying, especially the professors and Team CFVY, who wanted to tear this man apart. Coco was using all her strength to control Velvet from attacking them right there, and now, well, Cardin and his team wanted to escape since almost everyone turned against them. Osborne. And before you bring up the fake transcripts, I actually knew about them before itself. Weiss, the snobby and pampered Ice Queen, then spoke. Weiss. Then why did you not kick him out? Osborne. Simple, he had potential. If anything, he deserved to be a huntsman better than any of you. Honestly, I am disappointed at how you guys just treated him for nothing but mere papers. Now thanks to you guys, both Jaune and Ruby are nowhere to be found and possibly dead. Hope you guys are proud of it. Osborne and the rest of the professors then left, leaving the students to look down in guilt and shame. Blake, Nora and Ren were affected the most amongst the students, along with Team CFVY, with Coco and Fox calming a weeping Velvet down, while Purah was silent as she was in complete shock, while Yang was under a deluded hatred that Jaune brought her sister to her demise. Weiss was calming Yang down, she promised that they would make Jaune pay if he were still alive. Flashback end. Osborne. Not much has changed, honestly. I thought things would have been better, but they seem to move on, well, except for WBY and JNPR, who were quite out of touch. Their scores that were already bad were becoming worse. At this point, they would be nothing but the lowest scorers in the school. I need to find them before things become from bad to worse. Yang was completely out of touch from reality. Weiss was struggling with her leadership skills. Jean was nothing like Jaune. Instead of treating others like equals, was treating her own team like a slave, causing her to butt heads with Purah and making Ren more recluse and Nora completely devoid of emotions. And finally, Blake was in complete fear that she might be exposed for being a former White Fang member. She was constantly in panic since she would meet the same fate as Jaune if she was not careful. She was thinking of running away since there was nothing she could do. Scene break. In the backrooms. Level 6, 10:30 AM. The level was completely dark. Even with Issei's devil vision, they still could barely see anything. So far they have not encountered any entities, but they cannot let their guard down. From what Drake had told Issei, this level is one of the 2 levels where a lot of people have either perished or have gone outright missing. The entity count is also undetermined because of the lack of sight present. No light sources are known to work. Their best cues was to sense, and if possible, hear the location of the entities that show up. But that was also a problem since this level tends to create auditory hallucinations, which means that a person can hear some things and they do not exist. This tends to make people lose their sanity, resulting in them either being a target of the other dangerous entities present, or they become a victim of the Raynare insanity cycle and become one of the entities present. Sometimes, you know what they say, you can't beat them, join them. However, our gang was not planning on turning into one of these entities. They had people waiting for them back home, especially for Issei and Naofumi. They still had people that needed them back home, since back at their home, there are still threats that need to be defeated, that being Cow's brigade for Issei's world and the waves for Naofumi's world. I know it's called Raphalia's world, but since she is not here, I am calling it Naofumi's world. Speaking of the entities present, the only ones that are present are the ones that can take advantage of the dark, which if anything in the backrooms poses a major problem to any unfortunate wanderer that comes here. The Smilers are known to be present here. There are its subspecies which are far more aggressive and stronger than the original Smiler, that being Screamers, Laughers and Blushers. Aside from that, the only entities that are determined by audio cues are Hounds, Skin Stealers and several others, but none can be determined. Issei. Hey guys, can you hear me? Jaune. Yeah, Ruby. I can hear you too, Issei. This level is kind of giving me the creeps, I can't see anything over here. Not to mention there is something like running water or some voices creeping through my head, it is like I am constantly being watched. Issei. Don't listen to them, Ruby, ignore them as much as you can. This level is known to mess with the wanderer's perception of reality itself, plus even my devil's eyesight is not showing me anything, it is like we are entering in completely blind. Naofumi. True, even with my enhanced sight, I can't see anything, I doubt any of my teammates could see anything. Eventually Naofumi bangs his leg on a table, which everyone hears. Issei. Are you alright, Naofumi? Naofumi. Yeah, thanks to not seeing anything, I banged my leg on a table. That was when they heard something. They knew that an entity was coming close to them. It was running faster. It was screaming towards them. It then attacked Issei and screamed at such a high decibel that it was enough to make a human deaf. Thankfully Naofumi activated Shield Prison, bringing Ruby and Jaune next to him. Issei then fired a dragon shot into the attacker's body. Since its screaming gave its position away, it was sent flying. It then fled away since Issei was unaffected by them. The shield prison was lowered. Issei then spoke. Issei. Drake, what the hell was that? Drake. Partner, that was a screamer. Issei. Hostile. Drake. Yes, codenamed Entity 3.2, also known by many as the Screamers, are hostile entities which inhabit more than 600 levels of the backrooms. They are recognizable by their wide eyes and mouth, similar in look to the smilers. Similarly to smilers, screamers mostly inhabit dark areas, which means there is an infestation of them on level 6. Screamers are probably one of the first entities that new wanderers will encounter because there are many of them on the early levels. Screamers look very similar to smilers, but their mouth and eyes are completely distorted. Screamers do have an actual body. If they are seen and in place with light, the screamers will be revealed to have arms and legs, but no stomach is present on their body. If there is one, then it is invisible. Screamers, unlike smilers, are not attracted to light and usually try to stay in dark places. They are however easily attracted to sound, as their sense of hearing appears to be on the same level as a canine's, if not better. Once a screamer sees an wanderer, the screamer will try to run towards the wanderer and will start screaming so loud that some people have gone temporarily deaf from their screams. If a screamer catches a wanderer, they will hold them in place and scream loudly in their faces, with the decibels quickly increasing with each millisecond, causing agonizing pain to the ears and head until they die. Ruby and Jaune gulped on hearing this. These entities will kill you no matter what you do. Issei was thankful he heard the screaming entity before it could attack him. Naofumi then said, "Naofumi. Let's move forward. The more we stay here, the more entities like screamers will show up." The others agreed with it. They cannot stay here for much longer. They then constantly moved forward. They noticed that the level actually had metallic walls, brick floors and a complex system of pipes. They were still unable to see anything, given that this level was shrouded in complete darkness. All they needed to do was walk far enough and they would be teleported to the next area. They needed to be careful since one sound they make might alert them to another entity. Issei and the others stuck together while Rex was on Issei's shoulder, allowing the dollface to remain safe with its master. Issei had his Ascalon in his hand, not that it mattered anyway, given that the entities here use the darkness to their advantage, allowing them to ambush and kill their victims. Thankfully there are no skin stealers or at the very least anyone that had encountered them here, otherwise this level would have been far dangerous. Issei. Are you guys alright? Jaune. Yeah, still kind of same alright, he. Ruby. It's alright Jaune, say Issei, which is the next level we are heading to? Issei. Level 7 should be once we get far enough, so yeah. Naofumi. How is level 7 different from the previous 7 we encountered? Issei. I will let Drake explain that. Drake then speaks from the boosted gear. Drake. Level 7 is known to be completely flooded with water. When you enter the level you will be spawned in a room completely filled with water. There will only be some places that will have no water, and the breathing room there is completely limited. You also need to be careful as there is a huge entity on that level present, however it is so rare that people have even called it a myth. Aside from that, it is known to be a level filled with water, so those who do not know swimming are as good as screwed. Besides, the other levels did not have any water bodies, so this would be the first experience going 20,000 leagues under the sea. Naofumi. Interesting. I think I should have breathing gear with me, although it would take me a while to activate them, so we have got ourselves covered. That was when they heard another sound. Everyone immediately became silent, given that it means that there is an entity nearby. This time it was a laughing sound, which made everyone unnerved. Drake then spoke. Drake. Partner, take out a bottle of almond water now, and everyone close your ears. Issei nodded and took out the bottle where he had kept it in his bag. He knew that keeping that bottle for emergency would pay off. It was kept at a location that even in the dark Issei would be able to find it. Before that he put his sword back into his gear. Everyone covered their ears, preventing the laughing from affecting them. He then heard the laughing sound increase slightly. Drake then said, Drake. When the entity is nearby, make sure it never gets in your face, partner. I will give the signal, splash the almond water in the direction where the entity is. The laughing sound even louder, however before anyone could go insane, Drake yelled, Drake. Partner, now. Issei threw the almond water at the attacking entity, making it docile for a while, causing it to stop laughing. Drake then said, Drake. Now is your chance to take it down for good. Issei. Understood. Issei fired a dragon shot into the now docile entity, catching it off guard. It was unable to defend itself from the attack, and it got killed instantly. Drake then informed, Drake. That was a close call. If that thing had gotten closer, all of you would have been a wretch or insanity. Issei and the others shivered. Jaune then asked, Jaune. What was that then? Drake. That was a laughter. Issei. A smiler subspecies. Drake. Yes, codenamed Entity 3.8, laughters are hostile entities that reside in dark areas similar to smilers. They are similar to smilers in terms of appearance with slight differences. They have supposed tall humanoid bodies that are a mix of male and female. They can make wanderers go insane and most likely turn them into a wretch. They are rather sneaky when it comes to attacking wanderers. Similar to, laughers are also not attracted to light and will stay in dark places. Upon spotting a wanderer, they will close their eyes and their mouths in an attempt to hide from a wanderer. They will start to laugh softly while the wanderer is far from them. A wanderer could hear it, but they will think that no one is there. Once the laughters are very close, they will immediately laugh at the wanderer with loud voices, causing the wanderer to go insane and turn into a meaning that laughters mostly attack the wanderer mentally. Occasionally, laughters attack the wanderers physically rather than mentally, and when they attack physically, the laughter will carry you and swallow you whole without leaving a trace. Ruby. Are there any more subspecies like them we should be worried about? Greg. Yes, thankfully they are not found here, so that's a plus. Aside from that, we still need to keep moving. This would allow us to prevent more of them from coming after us. If there is a group of screamers and laughters coming after us, we are as good as gone. Everyone understood that they needed to keep moving till they find a way out of here. Given the circumstance, they might have another run-in with an hostile entity. It was not helping the fact that they are completely blind. Because of this level's anomalous properties, they all had consumed a bottle of almond water back at level 5 before entering this level, so that they do not lose their sanity. They kept moving ahead. They needed to be careful to avoid making any sound. Issei used his Ascalon to find whether there were any obstacles in front of him. This allowed him to identify the obstacles that was in their way, aside from dealing with the regular hounds that were much easier to kill, since they were easily exposed, given their audio clues allowing them to easily kill most of them. They then kept moving forward, trying not to entice any other entity that might stand in their way. They were still able to keep sane, while trying their best to avoid getting the attention of any more entities. They managed to stay as quiet as possible before they eventually stopped seeing the darkness. They then saw that they were teleported to a room which was filled to the brim with water and was completely submerged from top to bottom. They noticed that they all were successfully teleported to the next level. Scene break. Chapter 11. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Level 7, 1:30 p.m. Issei and the others noticed the room to be the same one that they would have been if they were in level 7. That meant that they were successfully able to clear level 6, and none of them died. Jaune and Ruby cheered since they both were alive, while Naofumi and Rex took a sigh of relief, since now they can see much better than they used. Issei then looked down to see the water. He touched it and he started to shiver. The water was surprisingly extremely cold. He then looked at the others and informed them. Issei. This water is surprisingly cold. Thankfully we just have to be careful since the entities this time are not present above. Jaune. So they are under the water. Issei. Yes, they would be, since the way out this time is under the water. We need to be careful of two primary entities. Tiny and the thing on level 7. Ruby. How dangerous are they? Issei. They think of us as mere prey, so we will be hunted by them. There are 4 parts of this level. The first part is the daylight zone, which is basically the area where the sunlight reaches the most. The second part is the twilight zone, roughly a kilometer below the surface, which is the area that contains loose bones and scraps of rusted metal, as well as the first sightings of full skeletons. These skeletons are often humanoid with noticeable differences, including much larger jaws containing long, sharp teeth and legs ending in what are presumed to be flippers. Several skeletons of large unearthly fish have also been spotted, many of which are covered in biter scratch marks. The water pressure is said to be quite strong by this point, yet it appears that at no point in level 7 is the pressure great enough to crush the human skeleton. These 2 are the zones where the tiny will try to attack and hunt us. Ruby. So what are the other 2 zones? Issei. The third zone is the midnight zone, which 3 kilometers below the twilight zone. The midnight zone is completely dark. Many more full skeletons have been found within this portion of the ocean, almost all of which are those of the humanoid entities previously mentioned. There have been reports of incredibly large fish-like skeletons in the midnight zone, but the skeletal structures of these creatures have been described by observers as incomprehensible. This is where the exit to this level is. There will be a cave where we can get out of here and head to level 8. And finally the abyss, the final zone located 7 kilometers below the surface. The abyss is sparsely decorated with mountainous piles of tar and rock, with a steady bubbling emanating from an unknown source below. This zone is also densely populated by the aforementioned humanoid skeletons, most of which have been eroded in some regard by the immense pressure. Thankfully we do not need to head to the abyss. Naofumi. So we do not know how deep the level is. Issei. Yeah, oh, can you survive the waters, Rex? Rex. Totally, us dollfaces are pretty resilient, you know. Rex said in a smug tone. Everyone chuckled. After a while Issei then spoke. Issei. Anyways, we need to get down the stairs. We will be heading the ocean. This is where our exploration will begin. The others nodded and they all went downstairs. They then opened the door, only to find that there is a beach. They then looked outside to see that the ocean seemed to be massively deep. Issei and the others looked at the beach scenery. Despite it being nice to spend some relaxing time here, he and the others then suddenly heard somebody singing. The singing was addicting, especially to a dragon like Issei. Ruby. Issei. The singer was a beautiful foreign girl who appears to be in her late teens with a whimsical aura. She has long purple hair and has orange eyes. She wore a white noble dress with cleavage that exposed part of her big breasts, high slits and with sleeves. She also wears a black miniskirt. Issei snapped out of his trance and got on guard. Issei. Who are you? And why did you bring me here? The girl stopped singing and looked at Issei. Issei took everything to calm his perversion down. Since this might be a trap, he needed to be careful, as this would be a trap meant for luring and killing perverted wanderers. He couldn't help but look at her breasts, which the girl thankfully did not notice. She then said, "Looks like I got a dragon wielder. I am sorry for bothering you. I did not mean to bring you here." Issei once again was surprised. He could sense the girl had no ill intentions, but at the same time he could sense that she is a half-devil, similar to Volley Lucifer. He then asked, "Issei, how did you know I was wielding a dragon? My singing tends to lure in people. As for the dragon wielding part, I can sense something inside of you." Issei. "Okay, that answers my question. So who are you?" "My name is Ingvild Leviathan, the daughter of a Leviathan noble and a human woman. I was in a seaside city in Europe and the next thing I knew I teleported to a room with buzzing lights and wet carpet." Issei. "So just like me. Huh. What should we do, Drake?" Drake telepathically responded, "Drake. We should help her get back. She is definitely not a doppelganger or imposter, since I was not sensing any malicious intent from this girl. Also I sense a sacred gear that can enhance or weaken us when she sings. She can be useful, plus since she is a Leviathan descendant, she has control over water itself, which can be advantageous in this level." Issei. "Alright Drake, I trust you." That was when the others join in. Ruby. "Ice, why did you? Who is she?" "Nafumi. Stop running off like that without telling." The girl got on guard as well. Issei then calmed the situation. Issei. "Relax, everyone, she is not an enemy. Guys, this is Ingvild Leviathan, she seems to be from my world, and Ingvild, this is Ruby Rose, the blonde boy is Jaune, and the shield guy is Nafumi Iwatani." They all greeted each other with Jaune trying his signature flirt, which caused everyone to sweat drop and made Ingvild slightly uncomfortable. Jaune then sulked. Issei. "Dude, go on like this and you will be single for life." Jaune. Yeah, I know I need to fix my style. Speaking of, how did you manage to get through level 6 without any issues?" Ingvild. "It was not easy. Many of the people told me that as long as you stay quiet, you should be able to avoid the entities without any issues." Issei. "Something which we weren't." Ingvild got panicked. She then asked, "Ingvild. What happened?" Nafumi. "We had a run-in with a screamer and a laughter. They tried to attack us all, but thankfully we were able to scare the screamer and kill the laughter. It was not easy, since our best bet was audio cues." Ruby. "Thankfully everything can be solved with a bottle of almond water." Issei threw the almond water and used a dragon shot, killing it instantly. Ingvild. "Dragon shot. Issei, are you the Red Dragon Emperor?" Issei. Yes, I am." Issei then showed the boosted gear in all its glory. Ingvild finally breathed a sigh of relief, knowing that she has made a strong ally. She knew that she can get out of this level without any issue and finally meet her parents back in Europe. Ingvild. "I too have a sacred gear, although it is unidentified. They say that it makes a dragon much stronger or weaker. I can harm or help others with my singing. Aside from that, I can control the water to a much larger extent." "So what are your abilities?" Issei and the others explained their own abilities, with Issei showing his first, followed by Ruby showing her crescent rose, with its sniper mode and scythe mode, along with her semblance. Jaune showed his Crusader Mors, which is a simple sword and shield, along with his semblance, and finally Nafumi shows his legendary shield, along with a chain shield ability allowing him to access multiple shields, and the ability Airstrike Shield, Shield Prison, although he kept the Wrath Shield hidden, so that Ingvild will not get scared. Ingvild then showed her control over water itself, allowing her to use multiple water spells and even split open the water. She then all of a sudden lost control, causing her to blush in embarrassment. Ingvild. "Oh no, I do not have full control, I am sorry." Issei. "It's alright, you will be able to with enough training. Since we all want to get out of here, the best way to do is by going under the sea into the Midnight Zone." Ingvild. "The Midnight Zone?" Issei. "Well, you are in for one very long explanation." Issei then explained the 2 threats in getting to the next level, followed by the different zones of each level, as well as the location of the exit to this level. He also told that the level has not been fully explored yet, as well as on how to deal with those 2 threats. Ruby. "So as long as we make loud noises we should be away from Tiny." Issei. "Yes, Ruby, the noises should be loud enough to make him daze for a while, and once he is on land we should have the advantage, and then we can take him down, that is unless he attacks us. We can go right now if you guys like." Nafumi. "I see no reason in staying here, we should head down right away." The others agree to what Nafumi say. They still have 2 dangerous levels that they needed to cross before they even move to the later safer ones, and eventually they get out of here. Their plan is to head to level 11, since it is the only safe level after the 3 levels. Nafumi. "Alright, I have created the gear for breathing underwater, and yes, this has nozzles that can allow you to speak as well. Since we might be hunted by the 2, I need everyone to keep their guard up, is that clear?" The others nodded and they wore the gear on their body, and with that Issei and the others step in the water making a splash, given that this would deter the tiny from attacking or ambushing them, since it can sense prey from as long as 30 kilometers, so they needed to be careful. Tiny on the other side was killing his prey, which was a huge shallow water fish. He then heard some more prey enter the water. He made a massive grin with its fang smile. He had found its new victims. It immediately rushed to go after them. Tiny. New prey to consume. It has been a while since I have had wanderer flesh. Tiny grinned sadistically and immediately dove towards the group that it entered. He swam through the empty shores with ease, eventually being only 5 kilometers away from its targets. But Issei and the others were diving down, eventually reaching the twilight zone. They knew that only in a matter of 2 kilometers they would be able to reach the midnight zone, the one and only way out of there. That was when Drake sensed. Everyone, Tiny has sensed our presence beyond guard. He can attack you guys from anywhere. Everyone started to swim faster. All they needed to do was outspeed him and reach the midnight zone, since it was not his territory. But that did not mean that they were safe from anything, since the thing on level 7 will be the main threat after that. Eventually they saw that a black-colored thing next to them. They immediately recognized it as Tiny, the hunter of the shallow parts of level 7. Tiny. Trying to escape, I don't think so. Tiny was described to be a humanoid entity whose body was coated in a thick layer of tar. Under this layer, his body, dotted with bioluminescent markings, appears to be vaguely amphibian. The skin is rubbery in texture, but unusually durable like a form of natural armor. His face is largely obscured by a similarly tough carapace that leaves only his eyes exposed. Observers have reported that Tiny's eyes glow brighter at lower light levels and are almost completely dim outside of water. Tiny then immediately swam towards the weakest of the group, that being Ruby Rose. The carapace that covers Tiny's face opens to reveal a large toothy mouth. He then used his mouth to gnaw Ruby alive, however a shield was in his way. Nafumi. I don't think so. The shield changed into dog shield, causing Tiny to back away since he did not see someone defending. The dogs came close and Tiny used his weapon to slash the dogs. Tiny. How troublesome. OWELL. Tiny readied its weapon. It's been a while since he has had good hunt and he is certainly not going to let it get away, especially not to his rival, that stupid fish below. Jaune then spoke. Jaune. We are not your enemy, we just want to get out of here. Tiny nods and responds. Tiny. You are right, you are not my enemy, you are my prey, just like the others. Jaune saw that this entity cannot be negotiated with. Tiny charged at the blonde, who was surprisingly able to hold his own against it even under the water. Issei also assisted Jaune, and with the two attacking him, Tiny was having a tough time dealing with the two in single hand-to-hand combat. It jumped back, gritting its jawed teeth. Tiny. This is getting really annoying, time to switch tactics. Issei. In that case, even I should take it to the next level. Ready, Drag. Thought you would never ask. Welsh Dragon Balance Breaker. Issei activated his balance breaker. He was surprised that the armor was able to function underwater as well. He knew that he can now fight even underwater. Ingvild and the others now looked as Tiny was surrounded. Ruby used her crescent rose to gain the upper hand and charge at him using her semblance, releasing rose petals everywhere. However, this is what Tiny expected. He released some of the tar, disorienting Ruby. Ruby? What is this? Tiny? That my prey is my special tar, meant for disorienting my targets. Now shall we continue? Tiny once again removed the carapace that covered Tiny's face that opened to reveal a large toothy mouth, his most fatal form of attack. Ruby? Is this how I am going to die? No. Ruby closed her eyes, accepting her fate. However, before Tiny could bite into her, Issei grabs her and takes her to Jaune and the others. Tiny once again started to get angry since his prey escaped. Issei fired a dragon shot to distract him, which he easily evaded. However, this made him an easy target to Ingvild, who used her control over water to capture him. Tiny tried to evade the possessed water currents, since the very thing that gave him an advantage was turned against him. Tiny. A wanderer that can control water, this can be a problem for me, I need to deal with her first. But that Tiny charged at Ingvild. She tried to use her water magic to protect herself, but Tiny slashed through every single one of them. Ingvild braced herself for an attack, but Nafumi once again used his shield to protect her. Issei took the princess out of there, while not noticing that he had grabbed her breasts. Ingvild blushed and pointed. Ingvild. Ah no, Issei. Issei. What? Issei noticed it and immediately removed his hand. Issei. Sorry about that, it will not happen next time. Ingvild nodded. Right now they needed to focus on the beast. Jaune and Nafumi were currently fighting it, with Jaune using his sword and semblance to prevent Tiny from doing any permanent damage. Tiny. Damn it, why are you making this difficult? Issei. Sorry, cause we want to leave from this level alive. We do not want to fight you, Tiny, but you are giving us little to no choice. Why attack us? I mean, there are so many sea animals you can attack, so why us? Tiny. Because well, you are prey, that's why. Issei. You give us no choice then. Nafumi, do you have a shield that can produce intense sound? Nafumi. Wait, but I have something similar. Voice Jengar shield. Nafumi then yelled into the shield using the nozzle, which was enough to make the tiny get dazed. Issei then activated illegal move Triana and called out. Issei. Armor release. Change star sonic. Issei then quickly went under the tiny before it could predict Issei, then grabbed tiny and flew faster. Issei then asked Drake to boost. Issei. Drake transferred them to my jets. Drake. Understood partner, you are sending it to the land where it cannot move right. Issei. You know it. Transfer. Despite its hard body-like texture, Issei managed to hold it off, preventing it from escaping. Nafumi kept on yelling as much as he could, while Jaune used his aura to help Nafumi in emitting as much sound as he could. Ingvild used the water to send Issei and Tiny up, along with Ruby, using her semblance petal burst to assist Issei in pushing Tiny up. Tiny yelled. Tiny. Stop, this hurts, let go of me, you pray. Issei. Nope, you deserve this, we gave you a chance to mind your own business, but you ignored us, now deal with this. Boost. Transfer. Tiny kept struggling to get out of Issei's grasp, but the massive speed coupled with the sound waves were making him struggle. He and Ruby then flew out of the water. Issei then threw Tiny on the beach, where the creature struggled to walk, since it cannot be on land. Tiny. Land, I cannot move, you will not get away with this, you damn prey. Issei and Ruby watched as Tiny yelled insults and struggled on land. Given that he was unable to move, they then went under the ocean and caught up with the others. They then proceeded to dive down, since Tiny will no longer be a problem for a while, at least for them. Jaune then asked. Jaune? Is he dead? Issei. Nope, but he will not be a problem for us. His kind cannot move on land, since they are more tuned to being in water. Jaune. Alright, wish I was more of a help. Nafumi. What are you talking about? Without you none of us would have been able to push that entity up. Issei. Nafumi is right, now let's move to the midnight zone and get to the next level. Jaune nodded in approval. He is happy that he is able to help his team, despite his treatment back at Beacon. He knew that he must survive so that he can be with the people that truly cared for him. Eventually they got out of the twilight zone, which was Tiny's territory. As they headed to the ocean floor, they knew that they needed to avoid the abyss, since the thing of level 7 existed there itself. They noticed several bones and remains of humans and entities alike, knowing that they needed to be careful. The number of the bones and the remains seemed to be way higher here than they seemed, realizing that the thing seemed to be much bigger and aggressive than Tiny, which made them wonder, how the hell did Tiny even manage to communicate with the thing? Greg. My guess is telepathy. According to the data MEG gave me, it shows that Tiny is capable of talking with other entities via telepathic communication. It must have learned to communicate with the thing using that way. Issei. Alright, I think I see a cave entrance down there. I guess that's our way out, let's go. Jaune. Guys, why do I see something incoming? Issei. Oh no, everyone hurry, get to the cave now. Issei grabbed Ingvild and Nafumi and entered illegal move Triana, while Ruby grabbed Jaune and used her semblance to get them in the cave. Issei called out. Issei. Armor release. Change star sonic. They both rushed to the entrance with the thing chasing after them. The thing seemed to be a black snake-like figure that was said to be roughly 11,000 meters long, with no features, except for a large mouth that is only visible when it is open, and is big enough to swallow a small hotel hole. This mouth took up a third of its face, with sharp 10-meter teeth inside. The thing seemed to be quite intelligent. It tried to overtake the duo, but was unable to match the speed of both Ruby and Issei's speed armor, as they were able to enter the cave entrance before the thing could attack or eat them whole. They then managed to enter the cave successfully, since the thing was too big it could not enter and was stuck behind the walls. The thing made one last-ditch effort to snap at the duo in an attempt to consume them whole. After a while of staying motionless, it moved its big head and swam elsewhere. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Now all they needed to do was traverse the underwater cave to find any sort of land, which was slightly above the area. Issei. Guys, that seems to be the exit to this level. Are you guys ready for one of the toughest challenge in the backrooms? Everyone. Yeah. They all then swam upwards out of the water. They then look around to see an infinite cave system, which was quite dark in nature. Issei knew that there will be a ton of entities, including the several new ones which they will never see again. Scene break. Chapter 12. Caves and an old foe. Issei and the others then swam above the water, as they could see that they were finally in an infinite cave system. Issei used his flames to immediately dry their clothes, since they would need as much energy as possible. The level which they were in was considered to be extremely dangerous, since this is where majority of the hostile entities spawn here. Given that all entities that they have encountered from level 1 to level 7 will show up here, along with some new dangerous ones will also make an appearance. This is the level that they need to stay on guard at all times, otherwise any entity could easily kill them. There are many entities, aside from the usual smilers, hounds, death moths, wretches and skin stealers. There are many more which they manage to avoid, like crawlers, reviacs, clumps, death rats, transporters, camo crawlers, hostile facelings, paralyze and wranglers. Not to mention this level has its own level exclusive entity called the arachnids of level 8, poisonous spiders which are giant in size as they attack and consume their targets as a whole. Issei. This level is something else only, not only do we have to face against entities that we have encountered before, but we also have to face those that we managed to avoid. Ingvild. Which all entities did you guys manage to avoid? Issei. Crawlers, Reviacs, Clumps, Death Rats, Transporters, Camo Crawlers, Hostile Facelings, Paralyze and Wranglers, we managed to avoid all of them, and the worst part is we can only leave by falling through and getting to the next level. Ingvild gulped, this level is truly dangerous, especially with the amount of entities present. Earlier Jaune had just killed a skin stealer and a hound which had decided to attack them. They then noticed a small worm-like thing that was slithering towards them. Reg. Partner, that's a Paralyze, destroy it right away. Issei. Understood. Done. Issei activated his squirt gun which had some liquid paint stored in it. He sprinkled at the entity killing it instantly. The others were shocked at the death of the worm. Ruby then asked, Ruby. Why did you kill it? Issei. I will let Dreg explain that. Dreg sighs and explains. Dreg. Paralyze, codenamed Entity 85, is a snake-like parasite, similar to a garter snake. It is extremely small in size. This entity has strong psychic powers to manipulate your mind to lie every time an important sentence is spoken, to lure the victims into traps. This occurs when the entity spots you, then quietly slithers towards you. Then it proceeds to crawl into your ear and you will not feel anything. They are known to control your body, as these are one of the few entities that can control you completely without killing you. They are mind controllers, and unlike partygoers they do not need to bite. Once they enter, the only you can save yourself is by pouring almond water into your ear once they enter. Ruby. Okay, so we have mind controlling insects, what's next? Issei. The entities which I mentioned, they are all present, stay on guard at all times, we cannot sleep here. This and the next level are considered to be the most dangerous. Everyone nods, they knew that this level is like the first part of the greatest obstacle if they needed to reach the safe level 11. And find a way to level 3999 if they needed to get home. They then proceed to walk ahead, where they see an eye on the wall. Ruby and Naofumi go to investigate it, however Issei stops, the Issei then speaks. Issei. That's a camo crawler. Whenever there is an eye or a body part on a surface, know that there is a camo crawler. The two nod and they avoid touching that, however the entity noticed when they spoke and made its move. The camo crawler seemed to be strange humanoid monstrosities, with 4 arms with a grayish-brown color when in a normal state. These creatures have huge blind wide eyes. Issei then grabbed a rock and threw it at a distance. The camo crawler immediately went after the rock, which surprised everyone. Issei then quietly spoke. Issei. This entity relies on sound for hunting. As long as we can use sound, we can distract and misdirect the entity. Now let's get out before it realizes that it has been fooled. Ruby. Okay. They all then sneak away without making much noise. Issei made sure to grab Rex before he could yell or say anything. They then kept moving till they encountered something very unique and weird and unique. They all noticed that several entities keeping their distance away from them. Greg. Partner, that's a pool stone. Issei. Okay, so what exactly does this thing do? Greg. Poolstone is the name given to a special type of stone found in the backrooms. This stone bears a striking resemblance to its front room's counterpart, which is ordinary charcoal. The difference between this stone and ordinary charcoal is its hardness and different chemical compounds. Not to mention it is known to ward off several of the harmful entities away, like smilers and many more. Issei noticed that Rex was confused. He was not scared at all of the poolstone. He then took some and gave it to the others, with Naofumi putting some of the poolstone into his shield, making it poolstone shield, which gave him massive resistance to entity attacks, as well as terror to all entities that see it, minus passive ones. Naofumi had earlier put some hound hair resulting in the shield, producing what's called the hound shield, giving Naofumi much higher disease immunity, as well as hound virus immunity. This could be beneficial if a pack of hounds decided to attack him. He had also put some beast remains back at level 5, giving him the cephalopod shield which allowed him to have some degree of bug control, making it handy if a swarm of deathmas wanted to attack him. He can redirect it to someone he sees as a threat. Issei. So this shield does more that defend, right? Naofumi. You bet. I managed to absorb some parts of the hound and poolstone, as well as a bit of cephalopod from the head of the beast of level 5. It gives me certain new and unique abilities when I equip those shields, and they might be handy for certain situations. Ruby. Nice. Ruby once again had stars in her eyes. Issei explained to her that she is a weapons freak, which caused her to snap out and glare at Issei, which the latter flinched, while Ingvild looked at the shield in curiosity. Jaune on the other hand was calming Ruby down before she would do something careless. He was kind of responsible for bringing her here, given that she came with him. Issei. Alright, let's move on ahead, we still need to find a way out. And the light spear was thrown right through Issei, which shocked everyone present. Even Ingvild went away from the emanating spear. It was a holy spear. Issei avoided the spear and noticed a dark silhouette in the shadows, and they had black wings. Issei and Ingvild recognized them as a fallen angel wings. Issei. It is a fallen, be careful, we do not know whether it is on our side or enemy side. Oh Issei, did you miss me? Issei recognized a voice and flinched, he clenched his fist remembering who she is, he still did not understand how it was her, and how did she manage to survive so far. Issei. It can't be, no, this has to be an illusion. Naofumi. We all can hear it, do you know whoever she is? The silhouette then came to light, it seemed to be an attractive young woman with violet eyes having a slender body. She had long silky black hair down to her hips and possessed 2 black feathered wings, she had a matured appearance and was slightly taller than Issei remembered her. Issei recognized her, he would never forget her as he remembered what she did to him and Asia. She seemed to be wearing a black strap-like objects, resembling leather, around and under her breasts, a thong-like piece held around her hips by 3 thin straps, gloves that ran right up her arms with small lengths of chains hanging from them, shoulder guard-like objects on her shoulders with 3 large spikes sprouting from her right shoulder, and black thigh-high heel boots. Issei. Raynare. Issei said in disbelief. Jaune and Ruby were shocked that the woman in front of them was the same that had betrayed Issei, while Naofumi and Ingvild were confused. Rex was glaring at her, as it wanted to tear her apart for hurting its master both physically and mentally. Jaune. You mean the same ex-girlfriend that killed you and you became a devil? Issei. Yes. Naofumi. I am confused, killed. Since Issei was still in disbelief, Jaune explained everything to both Naofumi and Ingvild. Naofumi was pissed as Issei went through nearly the same thing as he and lost someone he cared about. Ingvild on the other hand was saddened that he had to go through such a traumatizing betrayal. Raynare decided to throw another light spear, this time however she aimed at Ruby Rose. Ruby. Issei. The light spear was pretty fast, none could see or prepare for it. Naofumi rushed to her, but was too far. That was when Issei caught it. He had his boosted gear on, he had his eyes hidden underneath a dark aura, he was radiating killer intent. Raynare did the same mistake of attacking his loved ones. Issei approached her before she could even notice and slugged her in the stomach, making her cough up blood. Raynare. How could he be this fast? He is faster than any entity or wanderer, how could a pervert like him be this fast? I need to be careful. Issei. We really shouldn't be fighting like this, there are entities that can kill us without a second thought, don't make me do this, Raynare. Issei said with utter seriousness, he will not hesitate to kill her this time, since she was already hostile to him. Raynare on the other hand did not respond and gave him a punch to the face, which Issei merely moved his head, the punch not affecting him even in the slightest. Issei. So be it. Issei fired a dragon shot which she effortlessly dodged, she then yelled. Raynare. Kalwerner, don't seek, Mitlet now. Issei. Who? Raynare. Didn't you fight them at some point, or did your time with Gremory weaken your memory about us? Issei. I remember the fedora-wearing guy and the weird blue-haired girl, but who is the third one? Raynare. Oh right, you haven't met Mitlet, she is the gothic girl, alright, come down now. 3 additional figures joined the fight, they all were trying to save Raynare. Issei recognized every single one of them. The trio of fallen angels surrounded Issei's group, one of them spoke up. Kalwerner. So we are face to face with that brat from the Gremory, as well as a half-breed devil, interesting. Don't seek. Let's take them out and get out of here. Kalwerner. That red dragon is mine, he called me weird, I will take care of him. Raynare interrupted her. Raynare. He is mine, I have some personal business with him, if you wanna hurt him, hurt his friends. Raynare said it in a sadistic grin, while Issei gritted his teeth, she is still the same bitch that he remembered her, she will never change, leaving Issei and Raynare alone, while the others were fighting her teammates. Issei. So care to tell me how you are alive, and how did you land up here in level 8 of all places? Raynare. Oh, so that's what it's called. Yeah, when that Gremory girl killed me, I was transported to a level with buzzing lights, sound familiar? Issei. Oh yeah, I can never forget that experience. Raynare. After that then I managed to avoid any wanderers and killed only those annoying beings that existed here. I was traversing through level 8 until I sensed your sacred gear, and well, the rest is history, so. Raynare readied her light spear. Raynare. Shall we begin, Ice? Issei. Very well then, you want to settle this? Issei brings out his boosted gear. Issei. Let's end this right here and right now. Issei and Raynare charged as they begun to fight. Everyone else in Issei's group got into a fight with Raynare's group, with Naofumi and Rex fighting against Donaseek, Ruby and Jaune against Kalwerner and Ingvild against Mitlet. But Naofumi and Rex were surprisingly able to hold their own against Donaseek. Naofumi even noticed that he was an amateur fighter with his only skills being assassination. Any light spear thrown against Naofumi was easily blocked by the shield hero, while Rex was on the offensive. The dollface was constantly scratching through Donaseek, forcing him to defend while he was not attacking Naofumi. Donaseek gritted his teeth, he was getting nowhere, not to mention this area is not at all safe. They just barely managed to somehow kill a camo crawler, and it took every single one of their effort to take it out. That was when Donaseek heard something. Shield prison. Before the Fallen could react, a ball was created trapping him. Naofumi then activated his wrath shield. Donaseek. Let me out of here. Naofumi. Can't do, you should have fled when you had the chance, now suffer. Iron Maiden. The ball levitated upwards with a struggling Donaseek. It was then encased in the same chamber that the beast of level 5 once was. The Iron Maiden closed in, crushing Donaseek, killing him for good. When the maiden was disappeared, all that was left was a burst of feathers and a crushed body, meaning that he is long dead. Naofumi then burned the body, finally killing him. After which he dispelled the wrath shield. Scene change with Ruby and Jaune. Ruby and Jaune were fighting against Raynare, with the latter being surprised at two humans. No two kids were holding and pushing her back. Her light spears were easily shot by Ruby's weapon Crescent Rose. Raynare. How are two humans able to keep up with me, Raynare of Grigori? Ruby. Because the world we come from, we are in a constant fight for survival. We fight for the next day. We are called huntsmen, and we have fought and slain Grim much stronger and fiercer than you. Jaune. And we will make you pay for hurting Issei, and we don't need a sacred gear for that. Raynare gritted her teeth. She used her weapon to get closer to Ruby, since she did not seem to be a close fighter, but she was in for a surprise. Ruby instantly transformed her weapon from her sniper mode to her scythe mode, which she used to counter Raynare's weapon, destroying it with ease, shocking the Fallen. Raynare. How? Ruby. Simple, my baby Crescent Rose is a dual weapon. The mode which was able to shoot was the sniper mode, while the one it is right now is the scythe mode, meant for close combat. Now it's my turn. Ruby was using her scythe to make fissures, making Raynare go on the defense. She uses her light spear to defend herself, but she was getting overwhelmed. Couple that with Jaune going on the offensive as well, and there is not much she could do. Jaune then brings out a fire salt. Ruby, on seeing this, jumps away along with Jaune and throws it at her, creating an explosion. Raynare. Ai. Raynare's body was completely damaged, her clothes were thrown off thanks to the fire salt explosion. Ruby then converted her back to her sniper mode and fired several fire dust shots, burning the Fallen alive. Raynare screamed as her body sizzled alive, killing her eventually. Jaune. Kinda overkill, but she kind of deserved it, she wanted us dead after all. Ruby shrugged, she then put her weapon back on. Meanwhile with Ingvild, out of all of them Ingvild was having a slightly tough time against the fallen angel. She has everything at her disposal to easily kill her, even though she has the power of Leviathan, she still was unable to use it properly. She was strong enough to drown a city inside of water, but Mitlet was not letting her do anything. Mitlet. Looks like I will get a Leviathan descendant, what a lucky day. Ingvild gritted her teeth, she seemed kind of helpless, given that she could still use her powers, but she was uncertain whether or not this would affect the caves. This would definitely cause a collapse, given the instability of this level, which is something she wanted to avoid at all costs, but judging by how bad the situation is for her, she had to use her powers. Ingvild decided to use water magic on her, which gave her the slight advantage, given that she had no choice but to drown her opponent. She created a sphere of water which started to drown the fallen angel. Mitlet used a light spear aimed at Ingvild, however a defensive barrier nullifies the spear, making it useless. Ingvild. It's over. Mitlet eventually drowned since Ingvild prevents her from swimming up using the water currents against the fallen angel, overwhelming her completely. She eventually passes out from the lack of air and dies due to suffocation. Ingvild released a water bubble, after which she looks at the dead fallen angel. After that the others then join her, finishing their battles. Naofumi then summons his wrath shield and burns the fallen angel's body, killing her easily. Ingvild. Now I wonder what Issei is doing, I just hope he is alright. Jaune kept his hand on Ingvild. Jaune. He will be fine, he is much stronger than me and Ruby, and the best part is that he never gives up, he will fight till the bitter end, we should have faith in him. Ingvild nods, she knows that Issei will be fine, after all it was his coordination that they were able to beat Tiny back in level 7 with Issei. Issei and Raynare were fighting, with Issei dominating Raynare, since his skills are way better than he was back when they last fought. Issei was not even trying, since he knew that Raynare was once again taking him lightly. Issei. Are you going to even take this seriously? Raynare gritted her teeth, she was not going to fail once again in killing this boy, the same boy who had sent her to this wretched place. Raynare. I will not lose, not to the likes of you, never again. Raynare throws her light spear at Issei. While Issei used the Ascalon in his hand, he sliced off the spear in half, making Raynare fear him even more. Issei. Is that all? Now my turn. Welsh Dragon Balance Breaker. Issei was clad in the red armor that made many fear him, even Raynare was now beyond scared. This is not the boy she had once toyed with, she tried to run, but Issei grabbed her leg and slammed her to the ground. He then ragdolled her around the caves, smashing her up and down, breaking several bones. It was pretty much a one-sided fight. Issei then grabbed her throat while Raynare tried to make out. Raynare. I was destined F for greatness, why you took it away F from me, yo you, and that Gremmery by bitch ruined me. Issei. Don't pin the blame on other people. You're the one who decided to stoop to this level. Both here and in Draconic Deus, you've always been the loser. You didn't lose to other people. You've lost to yourself. You never once tried to take responsibility for anything. All you ever did was toy with others' emotions and betray once their purpose was completed when the real loser was always you. Issei then kicked her straight in the face, the kick alone broke her nose, she was then sent flying to a horde of skin stealers and hounds. Issei then spoke. Issei. Let's see you survive this, but knowing you I know you won't. Good luck and goodbye Raynare. Raynare tried transforming into her Yuma form in trying to get Issei to help, however it was of no use, she saw Issei had made up his mind, his eyes showed no mercy, no remorse, only disappointment and anger at what she had done and will do if she was left free. Raynare screamed as the hounds and skin stealers consumed her alive and ate everything that was off her, including the wings. When they were done, there was no trace left of her. Issei then left as the hounds and skin stealers were savoring their meal. Issei then joined the others when Jaune asked him, Jaune? Issei, where is that fallen? Issei. Dead, Issei informed him, which surprised him, he had finally gotten over his ex-girlfriend who had toyed with him. Ruby? Issei, are you alright? Issei. Yeah Ruby, I am fine, I am finally free. Everyone smiled at this, he had finally gotten over his trauma, now he can finally move on and chose what he needed to do next, but they were far from safe, the Fallen had only just stalled them, they still needed to get out of this level. They eventually saw an entity in the dark, however it was not a smiler. The entity on seeing them immediately fled. Drake then spoke. Drake. That's a Wrangler, partner. Issei. A Wrangler. Drake. Wranglers, codenamed Entity 75, are snake-like entities that use their bodies to distract and confuse their prey in an almost hypnotic-like state. Their skin is moist and sticky. Their body is translucent and the insides are visible, but as they get older, their skin will become grayer and more opaque. Their eyes glow a bright white which helps them to see through the dark. Their bodies are different depending on sex. Male Wranglers will have a more human-like face and a broad smile, and their skin is rougher. Females will have a more worm-like look, with pincers where its mouth is. The length of an adult can go up from 10 to 90 miles. Mostly aggressive, their aggression depends on age and sex. Males usually attack to eat and will consume anything its path. Females do not attack wanderers and will usually retreat when noticed. They will instead eat vegetation or rock minerals. The females will, however, eat wanderers when pregnant to feed their young. These eggs are seeds that grow on the female's body. Once the female lays the eggs, they are implanted in the ground or walls as a seed. These seeds will then sprout into a branch holding many different offspring. During this phase the female will return regularly to deliver food. Once the offspring outgrow their branch, they will break off from it and travel with the mother until they are old enough to live independently. Young Wranglers use their bodies to physically burrow. This tactic is abandoned once they get older, as the Wrangler starts to no clip to burrow. They will eat anything their mother gives to them. Nafumi. Okay, so at least one entity did not attack us, that's a plus, right guys? Everyone nodded. This entity not attacking them is something unexpected. They then moved ahead as they knew that they still needed to explore this level. They seemed to be safe for now, that is. Scene break. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video.